Good evening. We are gathered here to view and then to discuss a film called Under Fire, Israel's War on Medics. I'm not an expert on this particular aspect of the war, so it was agreed that I shall outline the broader political background to Israel's war in Gaza and in Lebanon. Israel is a settler colonial state, and the logic of settler colonialism is the elimination of the natives in order to take over the land and its resources. And this is what Israel is doing, not just in Gaza, but in the West Bank as well. Noam Chomsky observed that the most extreme and vicious form of imperialism is settler colonialism. And the Palestinians, for the last century, have been at the receiving end of Zionist settler colonialism on the one hand, backed by Western imperialism, first under Britain and then under America, and today by both. The aim of the Zionist movement from the beginning was to establish a Jewish state on as large a part of historic Palestine as possible, with as few Arabs inside its borders as possible. This is what they are doing today in both Gaza and the West Bank. Israel is not part of the region, and it's never wanted to be part of the region, but Israel has never been as alienated from its regional environment as it is today. In the past, Israeli leaders used to claim that their aim is peaceful coexistence with their neighbors. Today, it's quite clear that Israel's aim is not coexistence, but domination and military supremacy. The present government, headed by Benjamin Netanyahu, is the most right-wing government, chauvinistic, expansionist, violent, overtly racist, messianic, and Jewish supremacist government in Israel's entire history. Ever since the Second Intifada in 2000, Israeli society has been moving steadily to the right, and the composition of the present government reflects this shift to the right. The most influential members of this government after Netanyahu are Bezalel Smotrich, the leader of religious Zionism, and Itamar Ben-Gvir, the leader of Jewish power. Ben-Gvir was a disciple of the fascist Rabbi Kahana, whose party was outlawed, whose party Kach was outlawed, and Ben-Gvir was not accepted to do national service in the IDF because he was considered too extreme. Just imagine, he was too extreme, so extreme, he was not admitted to do national service in the IDF. Smotrich and Ben-Gvir are fascists. They are Jewish fascists. And yet, they set the tone for the entire government. Their agenda, which they make no effort to conceal, their agenda is the ethnic cleansing of Gaza and the West Bank, and eventually the formal annexation of the West Bank. Benjamin Netanyahu is not their prisoner. Some people think that he has to go along with them in order to survive politically. But he's as extreme as they are, and he shares their agenda. He has the dubious distinction of being a fugitive from law at home and abroad, because he's on trial in Israel for serious corruption charges, and also, as we heard a minute ago, there is an ICC warrant for his arrest. This government is congenitally incapable of making peace or even sustaining a ceasefire. It is a proponent of permanent conflict and permanent war. Israel claims that it has the right to self-defense, and its Western allies like Starmer and Lamy repeat this claim parrot-like. But Israel does not enjoy the right to self-defense, because under international law, you have the right to self-defense if you are attacked by another country. This clearly is not the case. Nor do you have the right to self-defense if the attack comes from an area under your occupation. Nor is this a war between Israel and Hamas. Like its previous 7 military offensives since Cast-led in 2008, this is an assault on the whole people of Gaza. The declared aim of this war is the eradication of Hamas, and this aim is clearly unattainable. The real aim is to render the enclave uninhabitable and the ethnic cleansing of the enclave. It used to be fashionable to say that the Gaza Strip is an open-air prison, the biggest open-air prison in the world. But in prison, at least the inmates have physical security, they get water and food, and they get some medical attention. None of these apply in the case of the civilians of Gaza. Israel has turned Gaza into a wasteland and into a mass grave. The carnage and the destruction exceed the total of the last 7 military offensives. Statistics tell only part of the story. The IDF has killed over 50,000 people, and about 18,000 of whom are children. 70% of the casualties are women and children. This is a war on children, and killing children is not an acceptable form of self-defense. Israel has destroyed or damaged or destroyed 70% of the housing in Gaza. The IDF has moved, evacuated, or insisted on the removal of 2 million out of 2.3 million inhabitants of Gaza. Some of them were forced to move 10 times or even more, and many of them, having obeyed the orders to move to so-called safe area, were bombed by the Israeli army. And the forcible removal of civilians is a war crime that Israel commits every day for the last 18 months. Israel has been committing multiple war crimes in Gaza. Domicide, which is the destruction of houses. Ecocide, which is the destruction of the environment. Econocide, which is the destruction of the economy. And the crime of all crimes, genocide. Israel and its friends, of course, deny the charge of genocide. But the leading Israeli experts on genocide and the Holocaust have said categorically that this is a classic example of genocide. The ICJ, in its ruling on the South African claim, has concluded that South Africa made a plausible case that there is genocide going on in Gaza, and the ICJ issued orders for preliminary orders on Israel to stop the genocide, orders that Israel has repeatedly ignored. But most importantly, the Convention for the Prevention of Genocide defines it as the intent to destroy a racial, ethnic, or religious group in whole or in part. That's the definition. This is precisely what Israel is doing. Israel is using starvation as a weapon of war. If this is not genocide, I don't know what is. Another aspect of Israel's crime in Gaza, which is of particular interest to me, is scholasticide. Scholasticide, the systematic destruction of the educational system of a society. And Israel has bombed, damaged, or destroyed all 12 universities in Gaza, all 12 universities without a single exception. Israel has also damaged or destroyed 512 schools. It has killed many, hundreds of academic staff and university staff, and thousands of students. I've written an article about scholasticide in Gaza in the Journal of the British Academy, giving a lot more details. I don't need to remind you of the importance of education in Palestinian society, the importance of education for the development of this society. And it is precisely because of the importance of education that Israel is so determined, so vicious in its destruction, in its pursuit of scholasticide in Gaza. Israel's attack on the health system in Gaza has been just as systematic and just as devastating as its attack on the educational system. Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta is here. He is the great expert. He has worked as a surgeon both in Gaza and in Lebanon, and I look forward to hearing what he has to say on the subject in the panel. But for now, I want to make just one point. Israel is killing doctors and nurses and medics and bombing, and at the same time, bombing medical schools in order to prevent the training of new medical staff to replace the ones that it had killed. If this is not genocide, I don't know what is. In Lebanon, Israel is repeating its criminal behavior in Gaza. Its aim is the ethnic cleansing of the South Lebanon, and to this end, it deems it necessary to destroy the health system. The film that we're about to see, Under Fire, Israel's War on Medics, exposes the extreme brutality and savagery. I would say it exposes the sadism of Israel's repeated attacks on the health system in Lebanon. This is not a war just against Hezbollah, but against the whole of Lebanese society. The key point is Israel's refusal to distinguish between combatants and non-combatants. The whole of international humanitarian law revolves around this distinction and is designed to protect civilians. Now, a central IDF military doctrine is the Dahiya doctrine, named after the Lebanese village which was devastated by Israel during the Second Lebanon War of 2006. The doctrine calls for the use of massive, disproportionate force and the deliberate targeting of civilians and civilian infrastructure. This is clearly a criminal doctrine, and it amounts to a root and branch rejection of the entire body of international humanitarian law. This doctrine helps to explain, but it most certainly does not justify Israel's savage war on the medics in Gaza and Lebanon. Israel's attacks on civilians and of medics as well, medics included, maybe especially medics, are not acts of self-defense, they are acts of state terrorism. To sum up, Israel is a racist and violent settler colonial state. It embodies an extreme form of ethno-nationalism. For the past 18 months, Israel has been conducting a genocidal campaign against the Palestinian people, and in the process, it has shredded to pieces the so-called rule-based international order. Yet, it has not been called to account. It has not been subjected to sanctions. It is getting away literally with murder due to the impotence of the international community and to the active support of its Western allies. America and Britain are not just complicit in Israel's war crimes, they are active partners in these war crimes. So, like Israel, America and Britain are likely to go down on the wrong side of history. Thank you for listening.